Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples. Welcome to Ideas, a time where we sit down with illustrators, designers, and publishers in the board gaming hobby and find out how they got their ideas from just ideas to the games that we love to play. And today we have a special guest, much like every other month, and we are diving into the art of board gaming. And today we are chatting with Kwanchai Moriya. How's it going, Kwanchai?
Hey, Brent, thanks for having me.
Right on. How are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, it's a little hot here in LA. It's around 90 degrees. And
90.
so, I have a roof office. It's like right under there. You can see like the angle of the roof in
Yeah,
my
yeah.
office here. So it's at the tippy top of all the heat comes up here. So
Oh
I
man.
apologize if you hear the droning of the AC
The
going on.
AC is going to be having to go full time these days,
It's
I bet.
working overtime. Yeah.
Right on. Well, like I said, we are going to chat about board games, and you're an artist in the board gaming hobby,
That's right.
done many, many games. But before we get to that, I want to talk about kind of your backstory into gaming because I love finding out how people got into gaming or, yeah, I've gotten into gaming. So, what's kind of your backstory? Did you grow up playing games? Was this like central to your childhood or in your adolescence, or what did it look like for you?
Yeah, I played probably about your average board games growing up in the 80s and 90s. So I remember me and my sisters used to bike to the public library, which was like a mile or so away. And at the library, you could turn in your credit card, your library card,
Mm,
and then you could rent any game in their library and just play it on the spot. Kind of like how, modern board game cafes are. But we thought that was awesome. So
mhm.
we played like, shoots and ladders. There's a game called Grape Escape, if you remember that, where
The
you
Play-Doh guys.
smashed, yeah, with you made
Yeah.
little Play-Doh grapes and smashed them and moved around the board. Yeah, just typical stuff. I mean, stuff that was yeah, I really like board games. I even at a young age, I think I really enjoyed the intersection of gaming and tactile, moving things around a board, art,
Mhm.
and I just ate it up. But yeah, when I was in college, I had a friend, Josiah Larson. I call him the godfather of gaming because to me, he brought over Carcassonne,
Oh,
and
okay.
we just spread it out on the carpet and played. And I immediately went home and I was like, let me, I need to find more of these games. What? There's new games? And I was just Googling away and I went to my local, um, I went to college in a small, like kind of up in Sacramento,
Okay.
UC Davis. And so they had one comic shop that carried like one copy of Settlers or
Mm,
maybe just an expansion.
right.
And so I just bought whatever they had and kind of got into it from there. I found Board Game Geek. That was when it really like all the data and metrics of board games and things going back in history. I just really dove into that.
Hmm. So, what are you playing these days? What kind of what would be your sweet spot? Say you had an evening, what would you pull
Mhm.
off the shelf?
Uh, I have a very eclectic taste. I mean, I have a 2-year-old, so
Okay.
most of my gaming is with my wife after hours if
Mhm.
if he goes to sleep on time. So a lot of games that might have a good two-player mode or I guess two-player games. So we played and besides that I play a lot of prototypes just for work.
Okay.
So a game that's getting pitched or that I might get on as an illustrator. I kind of like printing out the things, playing the prototypes, or playing the old version, trying to get a handle on that. But I've really been enjoying Red Raven's Creature Caravan,
Okay.
if you know what that is.
Hmm.
One of Ryan Laukatt's games, great, charming, fun. I got the new Quacks of
Okay.
Quedlinburg that came in. I played that. I mean, it's the same game as
Yep.
the old Quacks, which I also love, but I'm playing that.
What do you think
I
as an artist? I'm going to interrupt here. As an artist,
mhm,
what do you
please.
think of the change in direction of art style?
I like it a lot. I saw it and it was like instantly I was like, yes. I really love the old game. I also like the art too, but excuse me, if there's one thing I feel like was I wanted to change, it was the artwork. So
Hmm.
seeing something totally different and fresh was like awesome. I just feel like I'm a CMYK fanboy. So anything that publisher puts out, Alex and his team just have like an eye for things.
Yeah.
I think they have like a sort of like an art forward eye. So it might not
Mm,
be to everyone's sort of regular taste, but for an artist, it's like, ooh, that's weird and different.
Right.
So
Mm,
definitely jumped on that.
mm.
Yeah, what else? I've been playing. Oh, I played a Typewriter for the first time, which is a Fowler's game,
Okay.
like
Yep.
word game. That was really cool. I played that at the Gathering. Lord of the Rings Duel is really good. If you haven't
Okay.
played that yet, it's a solid
I
one.
have not. No. I
It's
know.
a
I know it's
it's Lineage, yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. I've also been like trying to get into abstracts. I'm pretty bad at anything chess like,
Okay.
but I made my own Go board and
Oh,
bought
nice.
like stones for it to try and like be fancy, be a fancy abstract gamer. But it's really not my jam. But I'm trying to like expand my brain
Right.
to play to like understand the complexities and beauty of a game that's that simple. But
Hmm.
we're getting there, Brent. We're not quite there yet, but I'm getting there.
Right on. Okay, well, we already started talking about art a little bit. What's kind of your whole backstory in art? Were you always like doodling in class and your teacher was like, put that away, it's never gonna make you any money, or like um or were you always just meddling in creativity like that, or what did that look
Yeah,
like?
always drawing, always sketching, making characters, like drawing little deals in my notebook and giving it to people, giving to friends, characters, cartoon characters. My mom was supportive at a young age. She signed me up for a couple like classes at the art at the park district for like a pastel class. So
Mm,
we had like still lives of bananas and apples on the fridge.
mm.
But I didn't really pursue it. I went to school. I have a history degree.
Okay.
I went to university for a history degree, and it was only 2 years later that I went back to school and got a second bachelor's in illustration. Once I realized I would like to try to do this thing, this art thing. But yeah, I think like most people who are artists, it sort of was a bug at an early age to just be interested in doing visual things. I'm a project guy. I love doing different things, a variety of things, eclectic things. I like making things. I love taking apart like old film cameras and fixing
Mm,
them. And I'm making a stool out of some walnut right now. I have a lot of eclectic taste, and I feel like I get kind of bored easily. So board
mm.
games is great because board games are if I'm on 5 or 6 projects at once, each one is completely different,
Right.
theme wise, needs wise, components wise. So it's fun to be able to pivot between things.
Hmm. So what did that journey look like from getting an art degree to board gaming? Like what was your first kind of testing the waters in the board gaming hobby?
I got my art degree, and then I spent almost 2 years just working whatever jobs. I was tutoring at a like an after school art tutoring center for math and like pastel drawings for little like second graders
Okay.
for like almost 2 years. And so it was like a slow at the time tragic descent into like, well, what have I done? My first gig my first two paid gigs came on the same morning, actually, completely by chance. So I got an email from Elzer Games, who makes Catacombs, and they
Okay.
asked me because I'd submitted some fan stuff onto Board Game Geek, some fan
Mm,
illustrations.
right.
I got an email from the owner of the company saying, "Would you be interested in being an illustrator on the new edition?" And keep in mind, this is back when in 2011,
Okay.
it like so board games still had I think a much lower bar of entry for artists
Okay.
who
Hmm.
board games still were kind of hitting a stride in terms of getting more professional,
Hmm.
a higher bar for art. And that same morning, I also got an email from a children's book publisher about a line that I ended up working with for 4 or 5 years, doing children's books for this Canadian company. So yeah, long story short, it took a while to get there, and it was a lot of odd jobs for a lot of years till I ended up getting my first board game gig, and then I took that board game, put it in my portfolio. I went to Origins, Gen Con, Essenspiel the next year, and that's when things really kicked off, and I was able to shake a lot of hands, pass out a lot of cards, and try and get more work.
And now you're probably declining work, I would imagine, saying that you're doing 5 or 6 projects at a time. You must be fairly busy.
Yeah, it's a funny transition. It's not one I think anyone's prepared for
Mm,
because the thing that gets you to where you're eventually turning down work is that desire to like never turn down work. You know,
right.
never
Yeah.
say no, always shake a hand, always try and put your best foot forward, always open a new door. So it's very strange to me to say no to work because I all these projects sound so cool.
Right.
But yeah, it is at a point where I don't have to go to conventions anymore to hustle up and drum up work for the next year, which is amazing.
Hmm.
And sort of weird and not something it's not something this whole thing wasn't something I really planned, you know.
Right.
When I applied to art school, it wasn't like, oh man, there's a board game illustration gig on the other side of these next 2.5 years. So it does feel like I'm part of something special, something
Right.
new, something at the bleeding edge of this pioneering new medium, which is board games that are coming out every year. It does feel like a pinch me moment a lot,
Yeah.
honestly.
When you meet new people and you're introducing yourself and they're like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" You're like, "I'm an artist in the board gaming industry." Like, what are people's reactions?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. You're like, what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm a board game artist, and and then often the question is like, oh, what's something you've done? And I was like, well, my first question back, I fire back like, do you have someone that you know who's like really into board games, like hundreds of board games? And often they say, yeah, and I was like, that person probably knows some of the games I've worked on because I
Right.
work on hobby games versus mass market games. So these are like games that come new games that come out every year. I mean, Settlers is becoming more ubiquitous. Settlers, I mean, Catan. Sorry, it's called Catan now. Catan, Ticket to Ride. Those games, like these games, are becoming much more in the mainstream. So I
Right.
don't have to. I need to do less explaining nowadays.
Right.
But yeah, it is funny. I do say board game illustrator. I used to say children's book illustrator because that was like the closest analog to
Hmm.
some parallel. Um, but yeah,
Um, man, okay, I just had something that question totally fleeted from my mind.
it'll come back. It'll come
It,
back.
it will. But no, okay, yeah. You say you talk to people and be like, do you know someone who has like 100 games and like whatever? You know what? Just this week, I just looked through some of the games that I have, and I was like, oh, Shifting Stones from Game Right. I've played that game like 300 times with my kids.
Mhm.
Quanchai did that. Like I didn't even realize that. And same with like Trash Pandas. I didn't actually
Yeah.
know you did that. Or
I get
the
that a lot. I was just at a convention, a new local convention here in LA, and often when I do like sit down and meet and greet with signings or something, I'll often talk to folks who will come to see me, which is very nice, very cool.
Mhm.
And they'll often find out that I've done other games, illustrated other games that they have in their collection or like or whatever. Because what I usually do is like because I've done so many games, I'll print out little tiny tiny square versions of the covers I've done. So like a cover I've done, but like this big and just spread because there's about like 150 of them.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
just spread them on the table so that people can walking by will be like, "Who's this guy?" And then I'll be like, "Oh, well, here, maybe you know one of these."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because it's fun. It's funny to even be a miniature celebrity within an industry, right?
Mm.
Like that the industry has matured enough that people even care about designers and
Mhm.
illustrators and publishers and follow them like fans is I think is a really cool sign of the tabletop industry moving to a certain level
Mhm.
that people even care what my name is.
Mhm. So, talking about art and how everything has progressed and things like that, and I don't want to step on toes, or I don't want to whatever open a can of worms, but with the whole thing with AI and some companies moving into that realm of using AI for artwork and different things, do you find that actually benefits you, actually helps you as an artist, or is it actually a stumbling block that you find that you have to figure out how to work with in this world?
I feel like it's mostly a negative. I I I feel like it's a tool that's not going away.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think I'm the hero to somehow vanquish AI's march into
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I wish I was, but I feel like I don't have good answers, and I don't have a lot of hope for uh companies using AI when it's so unbelievably cost effective, and will probably only get better.
Hmm.
I am in line with a bunch of other tabletop illustrators who, you know, are just trying to find ways to advocate against not working with companies that use AI,
Hmm.
or making sure like in contracts that AI is not part of the workflow. Um, I think there's a place for it. And honestly, it just takes one artist who is willing to fully adopt the technology, which of course it already is happening all over the place, and be essentially essentially able to put out tons and tons of work much quicker
Hmm.
at a certain level, you know. So yeah, I don't like it. I feel like I hope it doesn't. I hope that it finds a place that is not at a place of importance when it comes to visual branding, visual identity, and visual, you know, table presence of board games.
Hmm.
At least right now, there's a vocal majority minority that's like an audience who's like, we don't want that.
Right.
But I mean, that can change.
Hmm.
But so as an artist, I feel it feels a little bit defeating to see companies use AI like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a real bummer.
You know what? And I love just the natural art. I have other friends, both in the gaming industry and outside, who are artists who obviously they feel kind of the same things you do, but at the same time, there's something that when you go to a craft sale or you go different things and you see the person painting, or you see someone like yourself who this is what I've done. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
has that like human connection that makes me love just artwork.
yeah.
If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
It does. Yeah. I feel like I remember I was talking to Andrew Bosley a while back
Hmm.
last year about AI, and he was talking about how he's thinking about just, you know, even filming or recording his work, right? Like while he works on stuff, just as a way to say like this was real, you know, like
Right.
it's like, and it's in a way it's like proof or part of the pedigree of doing something and showing that I this was not just a prompt, click on
Hmm.
a prompt. You know, it's hard. Like I felt like was given the chance to grow with the industry as an artist. So like, or my early work to me, like I cringe when I look at it because it's like, ooh, that's a little rough. But I've had the chance to like grow with companies given chances to work on projects, get better at what I do. And so, and it's hard enough back then just comparing myself to other real human artists who are doing work that I admire, that I am jealous of. I
Mm.
can't imagine being a young artist now and having to compete with a lifeless, soulless program that can put out some things much better,
Hmm.
like at the click of a, you know, at the click of a button. So
Yeah. You
that's a weird thing.
yeah, and it's not going anywhere. I understand that.
Yeah,
And so it's
yeah.
just cool to hear your perspective, and maybe you actually benefited from it, but maybe not. You say you see other people's artwork and you're like, oh man, kind of got jealous vibes about that. So
Oh
their
yeah.
work. So whose art in the hobby
Oh,
art,
that's an easy answer. Andrew Bosley, we already talked about.
right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know, Tool, just for sheer brilliance of melding graphic design and art. Um, Lena and David Cassette, Mr. Cuddington for
Mm,
their stuff. It's just like professional work. Jackie Davis, Beth Sobel, Demicho, in Eastern Europe. He's really good. Yeah, there's a lot, and I feel like all those folks kind of came into the industry around the same time as me.
hmm.
You know, I saw a cover that's like, oh, that's cool, and I saw another one that's the same artist, like, oh, that's cool. And at the same time, I'm sort of developing um my brand, my name, and so to see them succeed, it feels like awesome because I feel like
Hmm.
they were in the class of whatever class of 2012, you know, and
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel like their successes are my successes because that means the industry is doing well.
Mhm. Do you, as an artist, do you get pulled into a game much like myself and other gamers? You speak of Andrew Bosley, and it's kind of like, you know what? I don't want to beat a dead horse with Everdell, but people are like, that's what drove me to Everdell, myself included, right?
Yeah.
And so that art is amazing. I'm looking at my living room or I'm looking at my dining room, and I made like a little ever wall of like 12,
Yeah.
12 prints making
Yeah.
a rectangle. And
Yeah.
obviously I have this little fan made one. A friend of mine drew,
Yeah.
caricatured it. And so do you as an artist get captivated when you
Oh yeah.
see
Totally.
good art?
Totally. Yeah. I'll do you one better actually. I was
Do
in a I
it.
was in a Secret Santa thing with some other tabletop artists, and I didn't know at the time, but I Andrew Bosley got my name, so we all traded. We did pieces of art secretly for a person. So I got a little hand drawn rabbit hero from Andrew for Christmas,
Man.
a couple of years ago. Yeah, like a little color pencil drawing. So
Hmm.
of course that's like if I wasn't, I mean, I'm an illustrator with some with some experience and renown in this hobby, but even if I wasn't like yeah, just to get something from Andrew, it's like, what? Personalized art? That's crazy. Oh, but yeah,
Yeah.
I get drawn into art all the time. It's why like a Creature Caravan, that the Red Raven game I was talking about, it's just charming.
Mm.
I want to play it. I want to make up stories about these characters and these little chips moving around the cardboard and rolling the dice and seeing if they fight off the sand golem. I love that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And honestly, if a game doesn't have good art, then that game better be really, really good for me to play it. Like Ark Nova. Ark Nova is a great game. I love that game. The artwork is very clinical. It's very like, it's like a lot of essentially photographs.
Right.
And if that game had like a visual style that was unique and painterly, it would be an even better game. But I mean, that game is so good, but
Right.
I pull off stuff to play it because I just like the game system. But I've bought plenty of games that were not necessarily great mechanically great games, but the art was so good. I was like, oh man, I gotta buy that. It looks like a piece of, looks like a piece of art.
Right. You mentioned before you play games, but you also have a lot of prototypes and things like that. How does that look like, or what does that look like for you as an artist in that capacity of like drawing and doing art for a prototype? Like publishers, like, hey, this is the prototype. Like, do they send you the prototype and say these are the
Yep.
mechanics and this is kind of the overarching story or the theme, and this is kind of what we're looking for? Go nuts, and then you just play it and kind of feel the vibe of the whole thing?
Yeah, it depends on the project and it depends on the publisher.
Right. Yep.
I think it does. I think it really does help. It has helped me in the past and even now that I am a board gamer and I like to play board games. I understand the terminology and the language about what's going on in the zeitgeist of games this year or last year. You could say a game like Azul, and I know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or so yeah, it depends on the publisher. Usually the prototype has essentially all the nuts and bolts are there, but they just don't look pretty.
Right.
Um, it's an Excel sheet or it's it's some printouts. It's like but that yeah, the in the mechanics, in the titles of the cards, the point allocations of these resources, you can already see in there the feeling of what the visuals could look like.
Mm-hmm.
You could see what this character is really powerful or this thing is really cool. And so as an illustrator, I get really excited because you can start to, even from the very early points in a prototype, you could start to see where the really cool visual elements on the table will be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the board is really important. It's going to always be down the table. Here's a place where we put a gorgeous tree, or we put some, something or this or that. So yeah, it is always different, but oftentimes, but it's really important that my art doesn't get in the way of the mechanics of the game.
Right.
That's really important. That the graphic design, the readability, and the mechanics are the part that really sing, and that the art just kind of props it up and supports it and fills in all the little holes.
Mm-hmm. You did art for a game last year, which was actually like my top five, None Attack from Cosmos.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
I love the game.
Mhm.
And sadly, I don't think it's getting much buzz. Like it's not getting much love, but it's just a lot. I said it when I made content for it. Like 10-year-old Brent playing that would have been like, "This is my
Uh-huh.
favorite game." Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, go
Yeah,
back a
I
few
do.
decades. There's just something about that building that pyramid and simple set collection.
Mhm.
You know what? But it's just you just brought it all together with that just amazing artwork. And so I don't know. I just wanted to
Oh,
say
thanks.
props on that one. Um, I love that one. And do you have a favorite art of your own from a game?
Mm.
Whether it
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
whether it be because the
It's funny.
game is like meshes so well with
Hmm.
maybe something that you love,
Yeah.
or maybe it was the process of like you're banging your head against the wall, you got this contract and you cannot figure out how to put this together, and then it all of a
Hmm.
sudden came to you, and that's why it's something special to you. Do you have like, or a
Yeah.
couple?
Uh, yeah, it's for sure. Funny that you say 10-year-old you would have loved the game. Like 10-year-old me would have loved and canonized every single game in my like 300 game collection. Because like now modern games are just so good, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
all of them are thoughtful, interesting, illustrated well. They're unique. I just every. It's funny to think about games when we were kids and games now, and how like any of the games, even the middling ones that were like, I don't know if I like that one, would have been amazing
Mm-hmm.
growing up. And so again, it just shows how mature our industry has become. In terms of art that I like that I've done, I would say honestly, it's often that the most recent thing I've illustrated feels the best
Mm.
because I feel like I am growing as an artist and getting better, um, and learning how to just learning how to just paint better.
Right.
So yeah, a few years ago we did Zoo Vadis, Rainer Knizia's Zoo Vadis, which I felt came out really strong. It's got anthropomorphic animals that are kind of realistic but kind of cutesy. The game board is it looks like you're looking down at a Disneyland park map. So all those choices, the publisher really trusted myself and my graphic designer Bridget to like just kind of come up with an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was a good case of all those ideas coming to fruition, pretty much kind of what I thought it would look like.
Right.
Um, I also I'm working on some more stuff for Kabuto Sumo, the product line. It's
Mm-hmm.
now like two base games and a couple expansions, and I just feel like it's such a zany, quirky theme that
Yep.
allows me to just really just do whatever, just throw everything at the wall and
See what
all
sticks.
of it stick. And that's fun. Um, and yeah, those also I got my first award ever in tabletop for my artwork. I got for Empire's End, which came out from Brotherwise Games 2 years ago, 3 years
Okay.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
I got an Origins award for the cover, and so and that cover it kind of looks like a what you might find in a like a National Geographic reenactment painting of like what did this pyramid look like in its heyday.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that was in my head. There's a lot of National Geographics on the coffee table growing up as a kid, and so I really like those like historical paintings of like these ancient civilizations brought to life in full color and all the textiles and fabrics. So I was thinking a lot about that when I painted the cover for Empire's End. So to have some recognition for that felt like one of those look at me mom moments.
Yeah. And rightfully so. Like, you've grown as an artist and you've crafted your trade, and to have an award or have recognition, like by all means, that should be your favorite one, because you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
and so we got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Final question for you. How do you stay creative with so many projects coming at you, and you just don't want to, I don't want to say this word, but like just put out the same record again and again?
Yeah.
A musical term, I guess. How do
Yeah.
you stay creative?
Yeah. I, that's a very good question. I feel like, turning 41 this year, I feel like it's mostly about like getting enough sleep, getting enough rest
Yeah.
and, sunlight and drink enough fluids. That's part of it.
Hmm.
I also think the industry is one that feels exciting. This industry that we are a part of feels exciting.
Mm.
It feels new. It feels like things are there's still a possibility of new things around the corner. And I don't have a lot of experience in other illustration as an illustrator in other industries, but
Yep.
I have some experience in children's books, and that's great. It pays well. They have a very established industry,
Hmm.
but it doesn't feel like the same when I turn in projects for those children's books because I just whatever's big I'm doing it has been done or
Mm.
is in the vein of something that has been done for decades,
Right.
probably even. But in board games, it feels like there's might be a new mechanic next year that just takes the world
Mm.
by storm,
Right.
or something new that an artist is trying to do to make a game more art forward or more of a piece of sort of a piece of art, like the way it opens. Like I saw Hot Streak, which is another CMYK game. I know the fanboy, but like it's like yeah, it's racing mascots, and they have a
Right.
you
Yeah.
pull out like a little like a football green, like on a little retracting piece of
Yeah.
fabric, and they race on, and it's just like, what? Yeah, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Just really, just cool, interesting things still feel like they can be found and discovered in this
Mm.
industry. So it does feel exciting, and I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of the people in this industry, even if they're an owner of a company, they're still gamer. Even
Mm.
if it's like the marketing guy at this publisher that I'm working for, that person probably plays games.
Right.
So it feels special right now, and so that honestly that gives me a lot of energy. And besides that, of like any artist will probably tell you, a lot of energy and renewal comes from doing not screen things. Whether it's reading a book or going out. We're going camping pretty soon. I'm a big backpacker and camper. That all
Hmm.
that stuff really just resets your eyeballs to make better artwork.
Right on. That's solid answer. So as we wrap up, if someone wants to see kind of more of your work or your blog or things like that, where can they find you online?
I have a website, KwanchaiMoriya.com. I have not met another person named Kwanchai, so luckily it's a rare enough name that if you type it in, it should like auto complete for you. Yeah, Kwanchai Moriya. I'm also on all the socials as my name, Kwanchai Moriya.
Okay.
If you want to keep up on things, I post occasionally.
Hmm.
And most importantly, if you see a game that has my art, and you buy it, that's great. Publishers love when you buy the things, and then I'll get hired again. So
Right on. Perfect. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. I'll post a link to your website in the description of this video. And I have to say, you're doing more stuff for Kabuto Sumo. I love that line. I truthfully I haven't played it, but I love the whole look of it and just the whole coin pushing mechanic. And I've contemplated many times going all in on all of it because I just want the toy, right? To me, it's a toy.
yeah,
You know,
totally. Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
wooden lazy Susan and just everything. I want it because it's a toy and I like toys.
Same.
But I'm
Same.
excited to see other stuff. Like I said, Nun Attack, love that game. You did the art. If you haven't
Thank you.
played Nun Attack, you need to play Nun Attack. Check it out. But I firmly believe that community is built on conversation, much like games are built on ideas. And thanks so much for sharing your ideas today, there, Kwanchai.
Thanks, Brent.
No problem. Until next time, my name is Brent. Grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.